the Schmo with the pro, with the head honcho of Dominance MMA, the one and only Ali Abdelaziz, here outside your home, Las Vegas, Nevada. How we doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm good. Looking forward to talk to you.
Looking forward to chat with you. It's the calm before the storm. It's the beginning of Fight Week UFC 288, headlined and co-headlined by a lot of your guys right here in New Jersey.
Yeah, you have Henry Cejudo and you have Gilbert and Belal fighting each other for #1 contender match. Yeah.
Let's start with Henry Cejudo. He's been out of the game for over 3 years. He never lost his belt. He's Triple C. He's the Olympic gold medalist. He's the champ. He has Aljamain Sterling. Everyone wants to talk about ring rust. Everyone wants to talk about the stylistic matchups. But why is Henry Cejudo going to hear and new Saturday evening?
Listen, man, you know, one guy I never doubt is Henry Cejudo. Like, people doubted Henry for years, and every time we doubt him, he come back and show us something spectacular. Henry is arguably the greatest combat athlete of all the time. I think he is. I think Henry's been out for 2 years, but I think last year and a half, Henry's been teaching in the gym. He's been coaching. He's been training, and he's been getting better. Even doing this analyst job, you see a lot of things you don't see. And I think, honestly, like, I respect Aljo a lot, and I like Aljo a lot, but I think, you know, Henry's been brought in as a hitman, you know, and I think the UFC want to bring some new blood to the division. Henry never lost the title, and I think Henry is stylistically one of the hardest matches for Aljo.
So Sugar Sean O'Malley, the #1 contender, he's going to be there cage side watching the tenants. The winner's going to be facing him. So Henry wins. He fights Sugar Sean O'Malley. Then does he get the opportunity to go up to challenge Volkanovski, if he's still the champion, of course, to become C4 and get a featherweight strap potentially?
Listen, you know, Aljo's a long or tall. I believe Henry is going to beat him. You know, but, you know, Aljo is no push-off. It's going to be a tough fight, but I believe Henry will become the champion again. And I think, you know, fought Sean O'Malley, and I think him and O'Malley one of the biggest small guys fight maybe in UFC history. You know, the guy who brought numbers like that, last one was Cody Garbrandt. And I think O'Malley and Henry together can do big numbers, but you can't overlook Henry. Yeah, Aljo. You know, it's Henry's focus right now is Aljo. Aljo have a great team. He's dedicated, and he's the champion for a reason. You know, he's the best guy on the planet today. But I believe Henry have every skills and have the confidence, have the power to beat Aljo on Saturday night.
Let's talk about the co-main event, because both your clients stepped up to face in the co-main event. 5 rounds, not 3 rounds, between Belal Muhammad and Gilbert Burns. They're both fighting for the opportunity to fight for a title. It's going to be Colby Covington getting the title shot. But will you advise the winner to not take another fight, to be on standstill, to weigh in as a backup fighter and not fight until gold's on the line?
Listen, you know, I was being told when I would talk with Sean Shelby and Dana and these guys, they say this #1 contender match, you know. Listen, if you don't respect fighters, this is 2 guys you got to respect. They take fight on 2-week notice. Gilbert just fought. Belal just coming from Ramadan. And you have other guys who squatting, like Colby Covington. They never fight, and they stepped into a title fight. And I understand it's a lot of other things behind the scene about that, and I'll leave it at that. But this is #1 contender match between Belal and Gilbert. Of course, I don't like seeing my guys fight each other, but at this level, if you're fighting for a world title, gonna change your family's life, or, you know, I cannot be the guy to stop that. And actually, I was pushing for this fight to happen. I believe both guys are very high-level competition, very IQ, and I think it's going to be an amazing fight. And Belal said he won 5 rounds coming from another. I didn't understand this one, but and Gilbert said, you know what, let's do it. And they both stepped in, and they are the co-main event in New Jersey this weekend.
So it was Belal Muhammad's idea to do 5 rounds, and then Gilbert just accepted it because, hey, he'll go with the flow and he'll fight anybody, anytime, anywhere.
So Gilbert, when guys injured at light heavyweight, he want to fight. When guys injured at middleweight, he want to fight. Belal, when nobody want to fight Khamzat, Belal wanted to fight. These 2 guys, the one thing they have in common, they don't care. They don't care how much you weigh, what your skill levels, they will fight you. That's one thing about them.
The Schmo heard you bring up the name Khamzat earlier today. Kamaru Usman, he said he'd be willing to fight Khamzat Chimaev. Who's Usman likely to fight next? Do you want him to take that fight? I thought Khamzat Chimaev's going up to 185.
Listen, I think this is a conversation. It was behind the door between Dana and Kamaru, and Khamzat really won this fight. I feel Khamzat one of the biggest name in the division, and Kamaru don't want no easy fights. He want to fight the best and the baddest, and the guys who gonna make him the most money. And I believe Khamzat one of the biggest name in the sport today, not just in MMA, in the whole entire sport. And I believe he's the toughest matchup in the division too. And Kamaru's always want to fight the best of the best, and I believe Khamzat is the best. But the question is, can Khamzat make welterweight? The UFC said he cannot. Some team said maybe, and we don't know. If this happened, I think it would be cool, because this is a fight supposed to happen, and it's a very tough fight for both guys because they both are such an amazing fighters, and you gotta give Kamaru respect, a guy who have nothing to prove and he's still going under the young, hungry guys, and that's why Kamaru is, in my opinion, one of the greatest pound for pound fighter ever.
Let's talk about his teammate Justin Gaethje. No fight lined up, but the Schmo included. Everyone's chomping at the bit. Why can't we see him versus Dustin Poirier? Let's get the rematch going. What is taking so long? Or is there other things in store for Mr. Gaethje?
Listen, Gaethje, we got offered to do the Ultimate Fighter with the Poirier. I respect Dustin Poirier. I think he's one of the legends in the sport, but it wasn't the right time for him. Gaethje went and fought Faziev. He beat him. And now, I think the UFC now, you have a very big fight coming up. You have Beneil Dariush. Rightfully, he is the #1 contender. And he keep fighting all these champion. And he's getting the long way. And I get it. Khabib got the long way. Islam got the long way. And he's one of these guys. Gonna do it all by hard work, not by interviews and talking trash. And this is who Beneil Dariush is. He's fighting Charles Oliveira. I believe he will smash Charles Oliveira. And he'll fight Islam Makhachev in Abu Dhabi in October. I do.
There it is. Didn't have to ask you about Beneil Dariush because you brought him up, and there it is. Let's talk about someone who not a lot of people want to fight in the 135-pound division, Umar Nurmagomedov. He was linked to possibly fighting Merab Dvalishvili. Merab Dvalishvili, he had an injured hand from the last victory. What's the update with Umar? He's trying to fight. No one wants to fight him.
Listen, everybody if you don't know now, we know, like Dana said, Omar is coming for everybody. It doesn't matter who you are, he's coming for you. He is this good, this why nobody want to fight him. Listen, Merab, I respect him. Merab, I think he's amazing human being, he's amazing guy, but if he's injured, he's injured. I don't think Merab is a guy to shy from a fight, But if he said he's injured, I think the UFC, this is the fight they wanted to do. And if this is what they want, Omar can wait for him and can fight him. But also they say they have somebody else. They're working on him. And I'll leave this up to the UFC. I think after Omar lost performance and after the UFC seeing how everybody react when they hear his name, and it's easy. They make you fight a guy who's in the top 5 and you're in the mix. For nobody cannot say he's not ranked. He doesn't have experience. And I think Omar, he's going to be a champion, man. I think the only way Omar not to be a champion, if he got caught by a punch or got injured or slipped out a banana bill. But I believe he's one of the best welterweight and bantamweight in the world today. I believe he's amazing. He's well-rounded. He's dangerous. He's a hard worker. He's dedicated. He's the closest person to Khabib on this team. He's the closest person to Khabib on this team. That work ethic and the discipline, and Khabib coach him personally. Khabib coach him personally and watch over him personally, and he does everything what Khabib say.
So you're saying it's more than likely he's fighting a top 5 opponent next time we see him step foot in the octagon?
I believe this is what we want. That's the UFC want. Listen, it's not nothing guaranteed in the sport, but Omar was willing to fight anybody from the top. Even guys in the top 15, not even in the top 15, right? UFC see that, and I think last time I talked with Sean, he said he's working on something, and I think Dana want it, they all want it, and Hunter want it. When you have all these people want it, my job become easy. because they doing their job, because they're the promoters. They know who they're gonna promote. They know who bring the numbers. Listen, Umar, he have 4 fights in the UFC, have 1.2 million followers on Instagram. What's the other guys have? Nobody even close. Outside Sharp Mali, you know? And I think, you know, it's a dream fight. I think you have a lot of dream fight. You have O'Malley, Umar, you have Sanhagen and Umar, you have, you know, Aljo and Umar, you know, you have Henry and Umar, but I don't think these guys will fight. You know, Umar said, you know, he wanna win to fight, go to bantamweight, featherweight, and fight Alexander Volkanovski, and I just think it's good. It's good time to be Umar now. I do.
And speaking of the 135-pound weight division, let's move over to Bellator. Let's talk about Patchy Mix. He's got a claim for being one of the best bantamweights in the entire world.
Right now, before Henry is competing to be back in the competition, I believe he's the best bantamweight on the planet. I do. I see him train with guys. I see him what he do with guys, to welterweight, to middleweight, to featherweight, to flyweight. This guy, he's so gifted, and he does one thing so well, you can't stop it. You know, he's one of my hardest grappling around, and I grapple with many world champions. He's just something special, and I think Bellator have something. Bellator can claim now they have the best 135 in the world. They can, because I think Patrick Mix, it's dangerous everywhere, and we see him what he did for Stott, and Stott he's one of the guys hard to do things on, and he knocked him out like that with a knee, and it's just this thing went viral, and people finally realize Patrick Mix is arguably the best bantamweight in the world.
Shifting gears back to the UFC, the light heavyweight division, Magomed Ankalaev, any update with him? Is he going to be fighting for the title next, or does he need one more, a number one contender fight?
You know, listen, I think the UFC is gonna give him one more fight, and after that, I think they're gonna make the light heavyweight between Jamal and a former champion, and I think he's just going to get one more win and fight for the title. You know, it's you know, he got his shot. You know, I thought he got robbed by the judges. I think they robbed him. I think he should have been the champion right now, but it's okay. It's the sport. We can't get everything we want.
Who did you think Jamal Hill was going to be fighting and defending his title against first?
Yuri, you know, and I think he deserves it. I do.
And then Magomed wouldn't be fighting a Jan Blachowicz. They wouldn't do the rematch again. It'd be somebody else.
Magas will fight anybody. It doesn't matter. They can give him John Jones tomorrow. He'll fight him. Maga don't pick opponent. He doesn't just. I would prefer for him to fight in July, but I think it's going to be a little bit later. But at the end of the days, he'll fight whatever the UFC want him to fight.
The man who represents some of the best talent in all of mixed martial arts. Can we get a final message for all the Ali Abdelaziz fans out there worldwide?
Listen, it's something we haven't discussed it yet about Islam Makhachev and all this craziness, because none of us addressed it, you know. And I believe you have Alexander Volkanovski and you have Islam Makhachev put on one of the best fights of the year, right? I respect Alexander, but it seemed like he's a great guy, and I know one of his co-managers, Ash, really good guy too. But everybody in his team, you know, make Alexander look bad by talking and making accusation and making this
About the IV thing.
IV is like, prove it, you know, because in a way, like, you shouldn't talk like that, because if you don't have proof, if you don't have nothing. And I believe, you know, Don Hacker, I really like this guy, you know, but now I don't know how to feel about him, because he's saying he have the proof, show the proof. Why are you not showing it? You know what I'm saying? But I believe maybe he's salty. You know, Islam fought him. He almost take his arm home. I don't know what it is, you know. Or maybe you love Alexander so much, but I know if you love him so much, you honor him by saying that was the best fight ever. He's great. He went up to weight division. Don't try to point fingers. In reality, and I got this from the UFC, fight night, Alexander Volkanovski weighed 2 pounds heavier than Islam Makhachev. You're talking about IVs? He weighed 2 pounds heavier than Islam. Right? Islam didn't get no IVs in Australia. You understand? Maybe somebody else did, but Islam did not. And in a way, like, even some of these coaches, man, like, you're supposed to be the peacemaker of the, you know, put your guys in your spot and, you know, discipline and stuff like that. Even these coaches, they want to be famous and they want to say outlandish shit. You understand? But in reality, you know, they always have to say about the Dagestani guys. You understand? You know, and it seemed like the whole world talking about the Dagestani guys. For me, This is fear. This is fear. You fear these people. Because if you talk about these people, you know, you respect them and give them the prop. Because I respect Alexander Volkanovski. I respect Israel. I respect even Dan Hooker. I respect all these guys. Give respect when the respect due. Don't try to bring people down. Alexander Volkanovski lost. He lost fair and square. He was in his hometown. He have the crowd. The judges think he lost. And I believe he lost. 4-1. This is what I believe. Maybe I'm biased. But in a way, like, you can talk trash before the fight and all this kind of stuff. We all do. I do. I'm number one. But after the fight, you can be talking trash. Especially if you're a guy, you just lost in 2 minutes by a guy, you know, you feel like sour. And coach is talking and this talking. Hey, they have a great team. Hey, challenge your team. And but I personally, I think Alexander Volkanovski is an unbelievable guy. I think he's a great person. I think he's a great ambassador for the sport. But if you want to talk shit, he can talk shit. Don't talk shit for him, you know? But he didn't.
Well, let the Schmo ask you this. If Beneil Dariush does not beat Charles Oliveira, could Islam Makhachev end up having a rematch against Volkanovski, assuming Volkanovski, a lot of hypotheticals here, takes care of business and defends his title against Yair Rodriguez? Would that be a possibility?
Listen, Beneil is going to beat Charles Oliveira. I believe, I'm not even going to talk about different scenarios. You know, and Beneil is going to, you know, fight Islam and the best man going to win. But this fight, Islam have nothing to gain. He already beat a guy, you know, even if he beat him. He's a small guy. We only fought this guy because he have number one ranked, right? And honestly, I wanted the rematch. When I thought about it, I was like, all these guys talking shit, they kind of ruined it for him, his team, to be honest with you. And even I spoke to his friend, his manager, Ash. We talked about it a little bit at the fight. You know, I don't know. But in a way, like, Islam have to defend this title against Beneil, and he have to do work. And if Islam kept on winning, at one point, he need to go up to welterweight.
Was just going to ask you that.
Up to welterweight, because he need to go up to, but in a way, like, I'm telling you, Beneil Dariush is Islam Makhachev toughest fight. I don't care what everybody said. I know that. Islam know that. Habib know that. If you sleep on Beneil Dariush today, you're going to be in a roaring of winning. And nobody sleeping on Beneil. I think Beneil should be fighting Islam for the title already. A couple fights ago, but it is what it is. He's a guy, maybe he doesn't get the respect he deserves, but I think he earned it inside the cage. 100%.
There it is. He's the pro. I'm the Schmo, Las Vegas. We're out.